Imagine yourself with an extra $2 million in the bank account. But wait, first take 2 deep breaths. All right, now imagine yourself with $2 million extra in your bank. Open in your imagination your online banking account through your app. See that $2 million in your account. Now, imagine the first thing that you're going to buy with that extra $2 million. All right, let's get started. So we're talking about making money grow on trees. But first, let me give you some bars again. I at last have reached my goal, and I've solved the mystery of my soul. I am that to which I prayed, that to which I looked for aid. I am that which I did seek. I am my own mountain peak. When I want, I do but see my wishes coming forth from me. For I'm the knower and the known, the ruler, the subject, and the throne. The 3 in 1 is what I am, but hell itself is just my dam, which I put in my own stream. In a nightmare that I did dream, that I was not the only one, and thus by me my pain begun, which ran its course till I awoke, and I found with me that I did joke. Now I stand here wide awake. I my throne do wisely take, and rule my kingdom, which is me, a master through eternity. All right, so let's get into it. Planting our money tree. You can see our wonderful money tree. It is back up. We see our little birdies in there. Aren't they so cute? So the first thing I told you is you have to understand how to program your subconscious mind. If you don't remember from the other video, please go back and watch that video. The second aspect of being able to plant your own money tree is to understand that you cannot manifest money. Not in the way that you think. Now, I know I'm sitting here talking about manifesting money and telling you that you cannot manifest money. I'm sorry to tell you, but the way that you currently think about money, you cannot manifest money. Let me explain to you. All right, so what we have to do is we have to understand that there is a stark difference between money and something else. So when I talk about planting money trees, we got to go about what the psychology of money actually is, what money is and what money isn't. And if we don't know what money is or is not, we'll be chasing something that we cannot actually catch. So, what is money? Let me get my wiper real quick. So please understand what money is. When most of you think about money, this is what you think about. You think about the green stuff. You think about dollars, or if you're in Nigeria, you think about naira. You think about dinar. You think about pesos. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is not money. That is currency. Let me say that again. That is not money, that is currency. Please understand that there is a stark difference between money and currency. So if you can't really materialize money, not the way that you think, you've been thinking that money was currency and currency is money. No, there are different aspects of one thing, but not the same thing. Let me explain something to you. So you have been trying to manifest currency, and that has been one of your biggest problems because you literally cannot do that. I'm gonna tell you why. Because remember, I told you, we live on 3 simultaneous planes of existence. You are the only tripart being that has ever been created. Remember, let's go back. You live on both the mental, you live on the spiritual, and you live on the material plane. So mental, spiritual, material. Now, I got to go back into something that Nikola Tesla talked about. Tesla talked about the 369. He says, if you understand the 3, the 6, and the 9, you have a key to the universe. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, I want to put these numbers by here. Okay. So if you understand the 3, 6, and 9, and look, this is something proprietary. Again, this is something that I teach in my inner clients, but I don't really gatekeep anything. So you get something that people pay me thousands of dollars for free today. So you're lucky. So you got to understand, let me draw a picture for you. There's a thing that's called vortex-based mathematics. Vortex math. Now, you're probably thinking, what in the world does vortex-based mathematics have to do with not being able to materialize money or currency? All right, let me explain something to you. So you got to understand, remember, 3, 6, I'll move this over, 9. Remember those three numbers. So remember, 3 is the spiritual, 6 is the material, and 9 is the mental. 9 is the king or queen of all numbers. I'll put a queen by her. All right, so vortex-based mathematics, the 9 is the queen or the king of all numbers. So remember the spiritual, so you have to understand, not only does Tesla talk about the 369, but also we got to go into quantum mechanics. So I've already gone into the spiritual aspect of things before. I've gone to the physiological aspects in the other video. Please watch that other video if you hadn't seen it already. Now let's go to the quantum mechanical aspects of creating things or creating money. So you have to understand, in quantum physics, there is wave and there's particle. So there's a thing called the observer effect in quantum physics, and it is with the double slit experiment. So what happens is if you look at an atom, they shoot atoms through a tube, so to speak. Now, when you shoot these atoms or electrons or whatever they might be through this tube, if you are not observing them, they behave in a very, very random sort of frame of reference. So one atom might go over here, one might go over there, one might go somewhat, like they behave randomly until you put your observation or your conscious awareness on it, then they behave in a very particular manner. So what happens is, in terms of quantum physics, there's a thing called collapsing the wave into particle. So I want you to look at the wave as the spiritual aspect of things, and particle is the material aspect of things down here. So the goal for you to be able to change your reality or change your life is literally, can you collapse wave into particle, or can you make spiritual become material? And that's the thing, because everything actually spiritual is the source of everything. Now, most people would think then, okay, well, look, if the spiritual is the source of everything, if the spiritual side is the source of everything, then the spiritual is actually the most important. Nuh-uh. Not in this plane of existence while you're living here on this body. Because there's only one thing that can control both the spiritual and the physical or the material, and that is the mental. And this is what we're after. All right, so let's talk about vortex-based mathematics. All right, so let's do 3 times 1. 3 times 1 equals 3. 3 times 2 equals 6. 3 times 3 equals 9. 3 times 4 equals 12, and then what's 1 plus 2? That's 3. 3 times 5 equals 15. What's 1 plus 5? That equals 6. 3 times 6 equals 18. What's 1 plus 8? That is 9. So what ends up happening is, if you understand the spiritual aspect of things of life, is spiritualized things, they rotate counterclockwise. So this is in opposition to what's already, to what the material side says. So I'll get to that in a second. So remember, spiritual rotates around the triangle, or the vortex math rotates counterclockwise. Now, let's go with the 6, the material side. 6 times 1 is what? 6. 6 times 2 is 12, which equals 3. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. Okay, so if you think about it like this rotates clockwise or in flow with materiality, because remember, time, space, matter, that's how materiality flows. So the material aspect flows clockwise or in flow with time. So 6 times 1, 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. And it goes all around. And every multiple of 6, as you go, it'll always rotate around clockwise and end up 369. Now, why is that important? Because with vortex-based mathematics, remember, I told you that the 9 is the king or the queen. Now, the 9 is the most important one because the 9 is the balancing act. The 9 is the only one that can operate in both the spiritual and the material side of things. So let's go with 9. 9 times 1 equals 9. 9 times 2 equals 18. What's 1 plus 8? 9. 9 times 3 equals 27. What's 2 plus 7? 9. 9 times 4 equals 36. What's 3 plus 6? 9. So you can see it always breaks back down into 9. You can do 9 times whatever number and it will always break down into 9, or basically it always balances itself. And this is the key. The 9 always stays the same. So in order to be able to create your money trees or to create currency, remember, you can't create currency. And I hate to tell you this, but I love to tell you this, because too many of you have been chasing currency and you have been saying, why can I not materialize this currency? Because currency does nothing in and of itself. Nothing. Remember, the spiritual is the source of the material, not the other way around. And so what you're doing is you're trying to make materiality change with currency. So let me explain something to you. If you're on a deserted island and there's nobody around, no help to save you, and you have $1 billion cash, what does that $1 billion do for you? Absolutely nothing. What does a bank account with $100 trillion do for you at that moment? Absolutely nothing. So currency in and of itself, by itself, is not anything except when used in the economy. Then it becomes the circulation. That's why I call currency a current. Then it becomes the circulation of economy. But so currency is only representative, is only good when there is an economy for it to current through. It's just like blood in your body. Blood is your body's circulation. So if I'm beside me, there's a bucket of blood. Well, that blood does absolutely nothing for me. But if it's a bucket of blood that I need and I'm having some type of issue in my blood that I need blood, well, then it's valuable. It's very important because it's inside of me or it's inside the system. So what you guys have been chasing, unfortunately, is the currency, is the physical aspect of it. But from the spiritual perspective, currency is nothing at all. And that's why it seems like you never catch it, because you're chasing nothing to the spiritual side of things. Because remember, we're trying to collapse wave into particle. We're trying to bring the spiritual and manifest it into the material. And the way to do that is you have to chase money, not currency. Now, I just told you, you're like, what? Hold on, you're confusing me. Let me explain it to you and make it make more sense. So like I said, there's a difference between currency and money. Please understand this. This is so highly important. So let me tell you what money is. Money equals the gathering power of idea, thought, and creation. That is money. Money is the gathering power of idea, thought, and creation. Anything that has ever been created by the human species here on this earth, any business, any building, any landscaping, whatever it is that you do, you have to understand it first came as a thought. As an idea, It just came as an idea first. And then a person put a lot of thought into that idea and then began creating from that idea. So listen to me and listen to me well. I want you to get this. Money is the gathering power of idea, thought, and creation. Money always leads to currency. Currency is the fruit of money. Money is the root of currency. I'll say that one more time. Please write that down. Money is the root of currency. Currency is the fruit of money. Chef kiss. So when you chase idea, thought, and creation, what you are actually doing is you are going to the spiritual aspect of you. Because remember, we're trying to make the wave become particle. We're trying to make the spiritual become the physical or the material. So an idea is actually a spiritual thing. Now, putting thought into that idea, there's a difference between an idea and thought. Thought is actually using your mentality or your nine mind, if I want to call it like that, to be able to condition the idea. So idea, thought. So when you get an idea, that is a spiritual thing. It comes from the invisible. And when I say spiritual, I just mean invisible. That's it, okay? So that's idea first, spiritual. Then you put your thought into it. And last but not least, you begin the material creation to bring it into materiality. Remember, currency is the fruit of money. Money is the root of currency. So you've been trying to materialize and manifest money. You cannot do that. The thing that you can do is manifest currency, You cannot do that. The thing that you can do is you can manifest money. Now, at first, you won't be able to see it. That's okay. But if you continue with an idea that you get, like an idea of making YouTube videos, and I got monetized in a couple days from doing that, It was what? It was an idea. And then I put thought into that idea. I didn't just start just making videos. Actually, on my old channel, when I just started making videos, nothing ever worked. But now that I put thought into these videos, right? So that is me using the 9 aspect of me. And then finally, like this video here, I'm creating it. Guess what ends up happening? I collapse wave into particle. I make spiritual become material. I planted a money tree and I get currency, fruit. So that's the second step of how you create your money tree. Peace.